$20. Jessica, that's all she had left. The lawyer's office reverberated with the harsh, scathing laughter of my brother Nathan. I suppose we already know who the true favorite was. Vanessa, my sister, smirked and joined in, her immaculately manicured nails tapping against the mahogany table. Well, at least we can no longer act as though Grandma Ella Laner loved each of us equally. I clutched the little inheritance check, which felt like a slap across my face, while I sat there in startled stillness. Mr. Harold Blackwood, the lawyer, cleared his throat uneasily while my siblings persisted in their jeering. The sophisticated legal office of Blackwood and Associates, with its dark wood paneling and leather-bound books attesting to my embarrassment, felt oppressive around me. Jessica Collins is my name. I recently found out that, at the age of 25, my dear grandmother had allegedly valued me at precisely $20. Vanessa inherited the $200,000 jewelry collection, while Nathan gained the $800,000 family house. I received what was essentially lunch money. Perhaps she believed that you could use that to purchase a personality for yourself. With his wife Patricia laughing, Nathan went on. Next to him, or at least some dignity. Because they reflected the same vicious treatment I had received my entire life, the comments struck a deep chord. I was always the odd one out in my family when I was growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was the quiet bookworm who liked libraries over parties, while Vanessa enchanted everyone with her beauty and Nathan was a businessman. An automobile accident claimed the lives of my parents. Grandma Eleanor became our guardian when I was 15. She had been my anchor for 10 years. The one individual who appeared to comprehend me. Or so I believed. Vanessa exclaimed, "This is just embarrassing," as she tossed her blonde hair over her shoulder. What message does this convey, really? $20 for a granddaughter? Mr. Blackwood's gray eyes darted between the papers and my tear-streaked face as he shuffled uneasily in his chair. I was too distraught to completely comprehend it, but there was something strange and almost guilty about his expression. With his pricey suit as immaculate as ever, Nathan reclined in his leather chair. At least there's no need to be concerned about Jessica arguing against anything. What will she stand up for? Her valuable $20. Once more, their laughing filled the room, and I felt my heart shatter. The only person who really knew me, supported my aspirations to become a teacher, and listened to my tales about my Pinehurst elementary children was Grandma Eleanor. How could she have done this? To me? How could I receive such a heartbreaking message from the woman who used to call me her little star? I was looking at the check when a horrible notion started to cross my head. Perhaps I wasn't worth loving in the first place. The embarrassment followed me home to my small apartment on the outskirts of Charlotte, where I replayed the event repeatedly for the remainder of the evening. Messages rang on my phone from each communication between Vanessa and Nathan was more scathing than the one before it. "Hope you can afford dinner with your inheritance," Nathan had written. Even worse was Vanessa's message. "Perhaps Grandma was trying to convey to you something about your value." I had always felt that, in spite of everything, Grandma Eleanor saw something unique in me, and she had stepped in without hesitation after my parents passed away, taking 3 sad Grandma Eleanor welcomed children into her expansive Victorian home on Elm Street. But even then, the favoritism was evident. Vanessa, now 28, was showered with attention for her social connections and beauty, and Nathan, the oldest at 32, was being prepared to take over the family's textile company, Northspire Textiles. However, Grandma Eleanor always made time for me. "Money isn't everything, my darling Jessica," she used to remark, "teaching shapes minds and hearts." She supported my education even when Nathan mocked my decision to become a teacher. She spent hours in her garden discussing books and dreams. Building a legacy like that is worthwhile. Now those words seemed like lies. I recalled our most recent exchange, in which we were only 2 weeks prior to her unexpected cardiac arrest. Her demeanor had changed, almost urgent. "There are aspects of our family that you will eventually need to comprehend, Jessica, my love. Vital information that Vanessa and Nathan are unaware of." My sad recollections were interrupted when the phone rang, and she merely smiled and said, All in due time, little star. I asked her what she meant. It was Caroline, my college best friend. I've been told about the will reading, Jess. Are you alright? I sobbed as I told her everything about my siblings' nasty laughing and the $20. Caroline attentively listened as each detail made her voice more irritated. She said firmly, "That doesn't sound like your grandmother at all. I always heard Eleanor talk so proudly about you when I visited. Recall the moment you triumphed. Last year's teaching award? She only called to boast about you." Little consolation was offered by her remarks. The facts were straightforward. Nathan would carry on managing the family business after inheriting the mansion. Vanessa received the jewels and continued to indulge in upscale shopping and charity lunches. And I received $20, which seems to be Grandma Eleanor's assessment of my actual value. I lay in bed that night and gazed up at my small apartment ceiling. I had teaching materials strewn all over the room I used for my home office. I would have to pretend everything was normal while my world fell apart in order to face my Pinterest elementary students tomorrow. The telegram I received from the lady I had loved the most in the world felt like the ultimate betrayal. An unexpected phone call the following morning would completely alter the course of events. As I was finishing up my third cup of coffee and marking papers, I heard Mr. Blackwood's voice on my phone. It sounded especially nervous. "I need you to return to my office right now, Miss Collins. Something has changed in relation to your grandmother's will." My heart began to race. What sort of progress? I would want to talk about this face to face. "Are you able to arrive in an hour?" I agreed to meet him despite being alarmed by the urgency in his voice. My thoughts were racing with potential solutions as I drove back to the legal office. Had Vanessa and Nathan taken any action to challenge the will? Were they attempting to confiscate even my small sum of $20? Mr. Blackwood was pacing behind his desk when I got there. His normally calm attitude was totally destroyed. His mahogany desk was covered in papers, and his gray hair appeared unkempt, as though he had been rubbing his hands through it. My stomach fell when I said, "Miss Collins, please sit down. I owe you a tremendous apology." "What happened?" His hands were a little shaky as he picked up a hefty manila envelope. "I found this concealed in your grandmother's personal safe deposit box yesterday while sorting through her files after you and your siblings left. It was dated just 1 week prior to Jessica's passing and is marked exclusively for her eyes." In my hands, the envelope felt heavier than $20 should have felt. Grandma Eleanor's well-known handwriting bore my name across the front, accompanied by severe directives to open it only when Mr. Blackwood is present. As he nervously adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, he explained that your grandmother was very specific about the timing of this. This secret meeting was to take place after the public reading. Before you found out, she wanted your siblings to show who they really were. I cracked the wax seal with trembling hands. It contained a number of legal documents that left my head spinning, as well as a letter written in Grandma Eleanor's meticulous script. The room appeared to tilt on its axis as I read what she had to say. The letter started, "My dearest Jessica, you have already suffered the public humiliation I planned. If you are reading this, although it may seem harsh, I needed you to see Nathan and Vanessa for who they really are, without any pretense. My little star, the $20, was emblematic of the first money I ever made as a young lady. The amount was never the issue. The actual inheritance was far more complicated," the letter went on to say. Nathan and Vanessa were unaware of family assets, covert investments, and hidden trusts. None of us realized how long Grandma Eleanor had been playing. Mr. Blackwood observed my expression as comprehension emerged. "Your grandma was an exceptionally astute woman, Miss Collins. She wanted to make sure the right person would inherit her actual legacy." One line in particular caught my attention as I read on. "You own everything else, Jessica, my love. Vanessa and Nathan have demonstrated you know exactly who they are. It's time for them to discover your true identity." Before my mind could comprehend what I was seeing, I had to read the documents 3 times, revealing a startling truth. It wasn't only $20 that Grandma Eleanor had left me. behind a maze of legal wrangling that had taken her years to build. She had left me everything that really mattered. Your grandmother established multiple trust funds starting 20 years ago, Mr. Blackwood said, laying out the documents on his desk. Your brother will go bankrupt in 2 years due to the enormous mortgage and tax load associated with the mansion he inherited. Most of the jewelry your sister got was a convincing imitation. You have a safety deposit box with the actual pieces in it. My mind was racing. However, how is that even possible? The family business has been run by Nathan for many years. Under the watchful eye of your granny. Indeed. However, 5 years ago, Northspire Textiles' real ownership was moved to a trust in your name. Even though Nathan isn't aware of it yet, he has been effectively running your business. Grandmother Eleanor's letter gave a detailed explanation in her exact handwriting. After graduating from college, she had seen Nathan become more conceited and obsessed with money, mistreating staff and making choices based only on financial gain. Without considering the future, Vanessa had turned shallow and materialistic, spending money on upscale clothing and lavish vacations. The letter went on to say, "But you, my little star, remained kind despite how they treated you. You decided on a career that benefits other people instead of you. Even though I knew you were having financial difficulties, you have lived simply and conserved your money without ever asking for my assistance. I can put my trust in you as the granddaughter to carry on the family tradition." Mr. Blackwood produced an additional set of papers. "Miss Collins, there's still more. Additionally, your grandmother had substantial real estate holdings across Charlotte, including the structure housing your school. For decades, she has made anonymous donations to organizations that support education. You are now the owner of everything. Has an estimated total worth of $4. I got lightheaded around $2 million. $4. $2 million. I was at a struggling elementary school yesterday. Teacher who is living paycheck to paycheck. And I was a millionaire. Today. What surprised me most, though, was not the money. It was the knowledge that Grandma Eleanor had been putting us all to the test, keeping an eye on us and waiting to discover our true selves when we believed no one was watching." Mr. Blackwood stated, "There's one final component," in a serious tone. Exactly 48 hours after the first will reading, your grandma asked that Nathan and Vanessa be told the truth. Before they found out about their error, she wanted them to have time to reveal their genuine selves. My siblings' texts had been ringing on my phone all morning. Nathan was already planning to sell the mansion and grow the company. Vanessa was sharing images on social media. Pictures of herself wearing what she believed to be valuable family relics. They were unaware that their house of cards was on the verge of collapsing. With my voice hardly audible above a whisper, I questioned, "What happens now? Your grandma has given you the ability to either support your siblings or let them suffer the repercussions of their decisions, so now, Miss Collins, you get to choose what type of person you want to be." As I sat there processing this information, I thought about Nathan's cruel laughter and Vanessa's cutting remarks. The mansion comes with a $300,000 mortgage that Nathan can't afford on his salary, and Vanessa's jewelry is worth maybe $5,000 in total. Without the money from the textile business they believe they own, they'll both be in serious financial trouble within months. That evening, as I drove past the family mansion on Elm Street, I watched Nathan and Patricia through the large windows as they celebrated their inheritance with expensive wine. They had no idea that the mortgage payments would start coming due next month or that the property taxes alone would consume the majority of their income. They felt good about me when they believed I was powerless, but now the tables had completely turned, and they had no idea what was coming. Nathan's income was from what he believed to be his textile business. I was aware of the cruel irony. For years, Nathan had ridiculed my decision to live in a small apartment while he benefited from the comforts of the family home, making jokes about my meager teacher's pay and implying that I ought to have chosen a more sensible profession. Now, I had assets worth millions while he was drowning in. Vanessa had asked me to lunch the following day, likely to boast about her jewelry inheritance, and I accepted, wondering how far she would push herself. We met at Magnolia Bistro, and Upscale restaurant in the heart of Charlotte, where Vanessa loved to be seen, she said. He didn't even know there was debt. She pretended to be nice as she murmured, "Jessica, darling," her wrist dripping with what she thought was precious diamonds in the family. "I understand that yesterday was difficult for you, but maybe Grandma Eleanor was attempting to teach you about your role in the family." The real family diamonds were in a safety deposit box that only I could access, and I watched her perform while sipping my coffee in peace. She had no idea that the jewelry she was wearing so proudly was worth less than my monthly rent. Vanessa went on, admiring her reflection in the restaurant window. "You know, Nathan and I were thinking, since you obviously can't afford to visit the family plot to pay respects to Grandma Eleanor, we'd be happy to go on your behalf. For a small fee, of course, say $20. She laughed at her own cruel joke. "That's very generous of you," I said, maintaining my composure, and inside I was recording every word, every sneer Nathan called me that afternoon, his voice full of fake concern, and said, "Jessica, I've been thinking about your situation. $20 isn't much to start a new life with. If you need help, maybe I could offer you a job at the textile factory. Nothing fancy, mind you. Maybe packaging or cleaning, something more suited to your, skill level." This was just one example of the callousness that Grandma Eleanor had wanted me to witness. His condescension was astounding. He was offering me a minimum wage job at my own company, with no idea that he was effectively an employee who could be fired at any time. I told him, "I'll think about it," controlling my urge to tell him the truth at that very moment. That evening, I met with Mr. Blackwood once more to complete the paperwork, and tomorrow would be precisely 48 hours. Grandma Eleanor's final exam had been on my mind, and I understood there was one more lesson she wanted me to learn since the will reading, which meant it was time for Nathan and Vanessa to find out the truth. As we went over the paperwork, I said, "Blackwood, I want to change the strategy a little. Rather than simply telling them the truth, I would like to give them one last opportunity to reveal their true selves." "What did you have in mind?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I want to call a family meeting. Tell them that there has been a problem with the will, that perhaps there was a mistake in the paperwork. See if they will try to protect their own interests or if they will offer to help me." The family meeting was scheduled for Saturday morning at Mr. Blackwood's office, and I had called Nathan and Vanessa. And if they fail this last test, I thought about their cruelty, their mocking laughter, and their total lack of empathy for what they thought was my devastating loss. Then they'll learn exactly how much Grandma Eleanor valued loyalty and kindness over greed and pride. I arrived early, my stomach churning with nervous energy, and Mr. Blackwood prepared 2 sets of documents, the real ones showing my inheritance, and a fake set suggesting there had been an error that might invalidate parts of the will. He explained separately that there might be some issues with the will that needed to be resolved. Both had agreed to come, though Nathan had complained about wasting his weekend on Jessica's problems. Nathan came first, walking into the office like he owned it, and he was already planning the mansion, discussing renovations and possibly turning it into rental properties. "If there is truly a problem with Jessica's $20, that's bad, but we can't let it stop us from making good business decisions. We wanted to see how my siblings would respond if they believed their inheritances might be in jeopardy." After 10 minutes, Vanessa arrived wearing what she believed to be family emeralds but was actually costume jewelry worth less than $50. "I hope this won't take long," she said, looking at her reflection in her compact mirror, "because I have a spa appointment at 2. Mr. Blackwood cleared his throat and started performing. "Thank you all for coming," she said, "but I'm afraid there's been a complication with the will. It seems that the inheritances were recorded with some procedural errors." Nathan tensed up right away. "What kind of errors?" "The kind that might render some parts of the will invalid." Mr. Blackwood went into great detail. "In the worst case, the entire estate might have to be redistributed." The room changed instantly and visibly, with Nathan's face flushed with rage and Vanessa's hand automatically reaching for her jewelry as though someone might take it away. "That's ridiculous," Nathan said, "because I've already started making business decisions based on my inheritance. You can't just change the rules now. In fact, Mr. Blackwood went on, there's a chance that if the will is declared invalid, everything would be divided 3 ways, which would mean Miss Jessica would receive about $1.4 million instead of $20. I closely observed my siblings' expressions, as this was their chance to be gracious and possibly show that they were happy that I might actually get a fair share. Rather, I witnessed unadulterated panic and self-centeredness. Vanessa's voice rose as she said, "No, absolutely not. Jessica doesn't deserve anything near that amount. She didn't put in the work Nathan and I did to earn Grandma's favor." Nathan nodded vehemently. "Exactly. If there's really a problem with the will, then we need to fight it properly. Make sure the original intent is maintained. Jessica receiving more than $1 million would be a total injustice." "What if I told you?" I said softly, for the first time since they had arrived, that I was content with the $20 and was willing to give up any claim to further inheritance. Despite their apparent relief, neither of them offered to give away even a small amount of what they believed they had inherited. Nathan said arrogantly, "Not a single dollar, not even an acknowledgement that $20 was an insulting amount for a granddaughter who had loved and cared for our grandmother. It shows you understand your place in the family." "Very mature of you, Jessica," Vanessa continued, feigning agreement. I nodded as Mr. Blackwood gave me a glance. This charade needed to end. My siblings had failed their final test so completely that I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Actually, the tone of Mr. Blackwood's voice changed entirely as he spoke. "The will contains no mistakes. What I have just seen is just what Eleanor Collins had predicted." He took out the actual documents and laid them out on the conference table like a hand of winning poker. "Your grandma left you all that truly matters, Miss Jessica Collins. Nathan's inheritance includes a $300,000 mortgage on the mansion. The majority of the jewelry Vanessa received is a replica. Above all, Nathan, you are not the owner of Northspire Textiles. Jessica does." There was an overwhelming quiet in the room. Nathan's face changed color multiple times before settling on a pale as hell. Touching the necklace she had been wearing with pride, Vanessa's hand shot to her throat. "That's impossible," Nathan said. "For 5 years, your grandma moved assets into a trust for Jessica. A safety deposit box registered to your sister, the textile firm, the investment properties, and the charitable foundations contains the genuine family jewelry, which is valued at about $200,000. Jessica now owns more than $4 million worth of assets." Vanessa began to breathe heavily. "However, I have been wearing these items to all of Charlotte's social gatherings. They are the Collins family jewels, as everyone knows. Regretfully, you have been wearing extremely lifelike fakes. The actual pieces were replaced years ago by your granny." Nathan struck the table with his fist. "This is deception. Eleanor, grandmother, was influenced. She must have been inspired by Jessica in some way." The look on Mr. Blackwood's face froze. "Up to the day of her death, your grandma was mentally well, Mr. Collins. She meticulously recorded each choice she made, along with the rationale behind it. She desired for her legacy to be passed down to the grandchild who lived up to the principles she cherished: humility, kindness, and sincere concern for other people." I watched in silence as my siblings' world fell apart around them, feeling both happy and sad that it had come to this. Nathan was enraged by the revelation in a way I had never witnessed. His face was twisted as he got up so fast that his chair fell back furiously. I said calmly, "Actually, I learned about it yesterday, as if you were just now learning about it. You manipulative little snake. You knew about this all along, didn't you?" Vanessa was removing the jewelry in a panic, gazing at each item as though she could somehow make them come to life. "This isn't possible. I've already agreed to donate this necklace to the museum's upcoming charity auction." Mr. Blackwood pointed out dryly that that would be giving phony jewelry to a charity, which might be regarded as fraud. Nathan started to pace like an animal in a cage. "Next month, the mansion's mortgage payments will begin. My present expenses are barely covered by my earnings from the textile industry. If Jessica is the business's owner, tomorrow, she might fire me. Despite the adrenaline pumping through my veins, I answered, "That's an interesting concern." Nathan. Tell me, how would you feel if your livelihood was suddenly taken over by someone who laughed at your suffering, called you worthless, and made fun of your value? As the implication set in, his face turned white. Vanessa tried a new strategy, abruptly adopting a sisterly devotion and false tears. "We were just having fun yesterday, Jessica, my love. We love you, you know that. Isn't family a cohesive unit? For example, I inquired when you offered that I use my $20 to purchase a personality. Or when you said that Grandma Ella Laner was trying to tell me how valuable I am." Mr. Blackwood started to arrange the papers. "Now, Miss Collins, you must make a decision on your inheritance. Since you have total authority over the textile business, you can decide whether or not to keep Nathan on staff. In addition, you own a number of apartment buildings, a variety of financial portfolios, and the building that your school rents." 10 minutes later, the room felt like a different world because of the drastic change in the power dynamic. During the months after that, Nathan feverishly tried to keep up with the maintenance and mortgage payments for the mansion, and when he was unable to do so, the house was foreclosed. His haughtiness was replaced by the sobering truth of his situation. When he was compelled to accept a position at a rival textile company for half of his prior pay, Vanessa learned that her reputation in Charlotte's social circle had suffered as a result of the false jewels. Circles. She also had to return to living with friends and work as a sales associate at a department store because she had no genuine inheritance to support her lifestyle. Both siblings discovered too late that everything they believed to be most important had been lost due to their brutality and greed. On a calm Sunday night, as I sat in Grandma Eleanor's garden and watched the sunset tint the sky pink and gold, I thought about the amazing voyage that has led me to this point. In reality, the woman I had assumed had rejected me had given me the best present imaginable. The reality of my brother's personalities and the assurance that true love and compassion would always prevail over hatred and selfishness. I could never have anticipated how wonderful the retaliation had been. Not because of wealth or influence, but because justice had been served in just the manner that all along, Grandma Eleanor had made plans.